Sam Opio is a cassava farmer in Olielpeng village, about 10 kilometers from Apache town. He grows cassava extensively on his mixed farm. Like other 300 local farmers here, Opio's cassava is sold as raw materials to feed the biscuits, beer, pepper and baking industries.
In order to drop back down cassava, first of all, is the food security. Then, when Africa came, we started 2 years way back in 2014. Then I found that it was very useful for me to grow cassava. That's when I started growing in large scale. And now the cassava, which we are growing now, had made me actually to improve on my life. And yet I'm also making some other money from the supply of nuts and supplying of Uganda breweries, which had actually made me in the position of now growing. I like it actually now to grow cassava better than other crops.
Langu sub-region supplies up to 10,000 tons of high-quality cassava flour to the market. An estimated 12.5% of that comes from Opio's 95 acres cassava garden. Growing cassava is relatively easy in northern Uganda due to its resistance to harsh weather and diseases.
It is more resistant to sunshine because as for now there is no rain, but you see how cassava is. And cassava, whenever it germinates, it is always resistant to the droughts. So it's not like other crops when there is no rain, it doesn't do well.
Opio's inspiration to grow cassava is driven by one of his friends in 2010, who offered him Nasa 14, a fast-growing variety. Today, he is seed multiplier, and soon his cassava factory worth $15,000 or approximately Uganda shillings 45 million in Apache will boost local farmers. George William Otim, a professor in agricultural development and plantology in Kampala, says the livelihood of farmers in Langu sub-region will greatly improve if they grow cassava on commercial scale.
All this is full of starch. We are actually having Africa's white gold with us. So we at the African Innovation Institute, we see the future of cassava. The future of Africa is going to rely heavily on cassava as an industrial raw material to power development. Our mission is to bring this crop from the traditional famine reserve type of perception to a perception where it can be looked at as an industrial commodity of high commercial value.
But that too must be backed by good planting practices.
So when you are planting cassava like this, you need to space from stem to stem or from hole to hole. The ideal should be 1 meter. From plant to plant and row to row should be 1 meter. So that is an ideal practice where you'll harvest good yield and also produce a healthy planting material, which are the stem, a good practice. If you don't weed, then you are going to miss it all. And after first harvest, normally there is what we call ratooning. The stem has to sprout to give rise to a number of stems, multiple stems. But if you want to have good planting material, you need to maintain the number of ratoons or the stems to 3 or 4, depending on the fertility of the soil. We have had farmers, or you have had farmers complain, I planted and I failed. I didn't get anything. It's because of the kind of material. If you have poor quality material, then you are not going to get anything.
Worldwide, cassava over the last 10 years has increased by 12.5% between 1988 and 1990, with Nigeria as largest producer in the world. According to Food and Agricultural Organization, cassava accounts for the daily calories intake and is grown nearly by every family. The crop is also gaining a foothold in Acholi sub-region, where women whose lives were torn by the war see it as a source of security and peace. One women's group, Pagorwede Peke Women's Group, has risen to become a model in the community.
Ki bugs madung me ma nyenya bepe ma koni o ka konyo kien me gwa ko cham ma da ta ne ke po ka bertie to twal.
The women are in position now to supply a huge tons of cassava to a bigger market, around 50 bags and around 10 tons of cassava to a bigger market. So that means they are able now to get into higher level marketing. And this is an opportunity to link them also to financial institutions and give them more capacity to produce more cassava, which they are not going to worry about cassava getting rotten in the garden, but they are going to ensure that they turn the cassava into a finished product.
Through its production, most farmers have been able to realize the benefits of gender justice, inclusive security, and sustainable peace.